Hi, and we're back. Sorry, it's been a couple weeks. Um, Stuff happens, life happens, but I'm back. And today is going to be a little bit of venting, if you hope you don't mind. Of course, I think you guys like that. I don't do it very often. Of course, I do it all the time. But today, it's going to be um, stuff that you don't dare say when you're at the school, but I'm no longer at the school. So I can say whatever I want, right? And it won't get back because some people are retired and in old folks' homes, and maybe other people don't pay attention to YouTube channels. But anyway, today is one of those days. It's November 12th. Yesterday was Remembrance Day, and it brought to mind all those incredible Remembrance Day assemblies and services that we used to do, starting in 1984 with Mr. Kraft, who was an expert. He was a history teacher, but he was more than that. He was an expert on history, the World Wars, the history of Canada. He was an expert on the Holocaust, and unfortunately, it's just too bad he passed away in his late 60s, way too young, around my age. His library at home was a smallish room, maybe 12 feet by 12 feet, and books on history covered every inch of all those four walls, except for where the window and the door was, ceiling to floor. Books on history, and he read everything, and he was up to date. Um, and we used to do. He had contacts um, with the Royal Canadian Legion, so he would be bringing people who fought in World War II. At one point, we had some people who fought in World War One, the Korean War, Vietnamese War. We had incredible assemblies. We had that cenotaph that the tech department built, um, and for those of you trumpet players who I handed the sheet of the last post to, and you probably spent a lot of your time up late at night and um, in the bathroom fretting about being able to play that thing live. And it was tough. It was a tough piece. Um, but those were amazing assemblies. And of course, we carried them on after he left to go to Arendelle. And then as veterans passed away, and there were fewer and fewer um, people to come to the school and talk. Um, it sort of faded away. In the last few years I was at the school, nothing was done. It was something on the PA, which is really too bad. Um, you know, that was something that, and listening to people read in Flanders Fields and butcher it up. Oh my God, I have to read it for you one day. We'll read it properly. To you from failing hands, we throw the torch. Oh my God. Anyway, we'll get to that. But that's something that would have happened yesterday at the school. I don't know if they did anything at the school. I have no idea. I haven't spoken with anybody at the school in quite a long time. Okay, today I want to talk about the school emblem or logo. And this has pissed me off right from the day I walked into the school. This was the original school logo. Okay. Ad Astra, ad Arua, ad Astra, per Arua. I have no idea. Something about the stars. It was never used except on official letterhead. It looks like it was drawn up. Oh, we're building Westwood. It's near the airport. Let's do an emblem with airplanes on it. There you go. Easy. Um, it was horrible then, and it's horrible now. But I mean, it was an emblem of the school, and people kind of you become attached to it. And the then principal, the original principal of the school was Ken Teeter, and he had a hand in that because he had connections, as I believe, with the airport in de Havilland, and a lot of people who attended the school, their parents worked for the airport and worked for plane manufacturing companies like de Havilland. And as years went by, those companies closed up, and those people moved away. But we're still near the airport. We're still on the flight path, as far as I know. And so that emblem lasted until around 1984, 85. And then the then principal, Tim Costigan, tasked Darlene Zurich, who was an art teacher. He and Darlene got along really, really well, and he tasked her with designing a new emblem for the school. And the result, as a lot of you know, Westwood Secondary School, WSS, so much could have been done with that. I mean, my God, anybody, any grade 12 art student with a blunt pencil could have done something with it. Anyway, dragging the 1984 yearbook, I'm just trying to find an example of it. It was unveiled to the staff, and when we took a look at it, we were horrified. That's basically it, as you know. Okay, or some variation of it. Okay, it's even on the cover of this yearbook. Right, whoops. Right there. Whoops. There. And it's on the next year's yearbook. Right there. And it's a terrible, terrible logo. And it became everything. I have a keychain with the WSS on it. The problem with that particular emblem, when it was first unveiled, firstly, I could tell when it was unveiled that Costigan was not happy with it. And I was sitting next to a history teacher, and when this was unveiled, right, when this was unveiled to the school, to the staff, the very first thing one history teacher said, it looks like a grade 5 attempt to draw the Nazi SS, right, the Wehrmacht, the SS officers with the S's on their jerseys. Really poor design, but she was proud of it, and so it became the school logo. And it was ugly then, and it stayed ugly until the school became Lincoln Alexander. That's another story. And we had to live with it, because once Costigan would task somebody with doing something, he went with whatever they came up with, good or bad. And that was good of him, because you learned. But she was an accomplished designer and an artist and so on. And for her to come up with something like that was just terrible. It was really ugly. And it did look like kind of like an SS and a WSS. I don't know what it was supposed to mean. But the W and the SS thing were all in there, and it was just a horrible logo. Then, when the school became Lincoln Alexander, and that was when Mr. What's his name? Was principal. Hudson was principal. Somebody at the board, LMA. LMA. You have L, it looks like this, and an M looks like this, and an A. You could have done something with that. I mean, you take a look at some schools, just dial up Chinguzi or dial up T.L. Kennedy or dial up what, and their crests mean something to the school. Okay? So what did the board come up with? That. Which was probably done on the back of a napkin in 10 minutes. It's stupid, it's ugly, it means nothing. Okay? You can see the L, right? And you can kind of make out the M, and then you have the A. I mean, and that's, that's the logo of the school. It means nothing, and they have words to tell you, just in case you weren't familiar, pride, achievement, and responsibility. It should also say bad design, designed by an orangutan in 10 minutes on the back of a napkin during lunch. It aggravated me. I mean, that's just something that just used to piss me right off. I mean, I have a background in art, and some of you know that I have a BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts, with a double major. One was art, one was music, and I decided to run with the music side of it. But I taught visual arts for a number of years. Some of you were probably in my classes. And, I mean, any bit of creativity, and you could have done something with that. No, they made a triangle, and they squeezed in, and they stuck the L on the outside because they couldn't find a spot for it, Anyway, so that was that, and the logo it's just another case of the Malton School getting the bum's rush, or seeing people not taking pride in something. And of course now that's the logo for perpetuity, and it's going to stay that way, and nobody has a clue where it came from, who designed it, and it means nothing. It doesn't show. Throw an airplane in there, for crying out loud. A helicopter, a space shuttle, I don't care. Something. Means nothing. The other thing I want to vent about, and this started right away with Mr. Hudson, in 2000, when the school changed the name to Lincoln M. Alexander Secondary School. People started calling the school Lincoln. And I think it started, I think, with Hudson. And a lot of other people jumped on top because Lincoln, it's easy to say, because Alexander has too many syllables or something. And it was like, and it wasn't even Lincoln. Think about how it's spelled, Lincoln, right? People are pronouncing it Lincoln, like Lincoln Park. Linkin, Lincoln. I go to Lincoln. That's so stupid. If you went to T.L. Kennedy, you wouldn't say, I go to Thomas. So stupid. And I've hated that ever since. You don't go to Lincoln. You go to Lincoln M. Alexander, or you go to Alexander Secondary School. But I understand why they wouldn't use Alexander Secondary School, because if you shorten to the letters, not a great idea. It's like Applewood Heights Secondary School, because Applewood Secondary School had the same problem with the letters. If you have to spell it out, ask somebody. So LMAS, that became, that's still two syllables, like Lincoln, LMAS. But at least that's the initials of the school. But it just drives me crazy. And the board's insistence on using middle initials, T.L. Kennedy, instead of Thomas Kennedy. Done. Lincoln M. Alexander. Lincoln Alexander, 5 syllables. By the way, those of you who went to Lincoln, I hate that. Alexander, our school, whatever. Lincoln M. Alexander. Do you know what the M stands for? Hands up. Anybody? You at the back. Macaulay. You're right. Macaulay. Lincoln Macaulay Alexander. There you go. There's your trivia answer for the week. Yep. So that was a pain in my butt. I hate it. I never, ever. I mean, where am I? I hate cameras. There you go. Lincoln Alexander music. I designed this. It was on the band shirts. I even have a wrong sleeve picture of Lincoln Alexander on the shirt. This actually was the idea of the guy at the printing shop where we got the shirts made, and he sent me an email and said, "Listen, Lincoln Alexander was one of my idols. I'm making your shirts. Can I do that shoulder logo with a picture of him on your shirt?" I went, "Yeah, perfect. Why not? I mean, rather than T.L. Kennedy, do you know what T.L. Kennedy looks like? Me neither. But people, when you wear Lincoln Alexander and the guy is on your shirt, it means something." Anyway, yeah, so the calling the school Lincoln is to this day. You went to Lincoln. I hate that. Just hated that. It was like disrespectful. I mean, if Lincoln Alexander, he came to the school 3 times. Nobody in their right mind would say, "Yeah, I go to Lincoln," in front of his face. Okay? That's disrespectful. So, no, not happy with that. And that's just another of my bugaboos. Hudson was another one of these people who would do things unilaterally. Now, when Lincoln first popped into the scene, 2000, I think we had periods that started, one at 8:30, and then it was a 9:45, like 9:45 or 9:46, and then 16 minutes later was the next period, and the next period, and the next period. And I think we got out at 2:30 or 2:35 or something like that. I don't remember what time it was. And people were kind of, the first 5 minutes of each period was like a crossover. I mean, people would leave and they get to class, and there was like a buffer of about 5 or 10 minutes at the end of each period and at the beginning of each period, so that people could go across the school. I mean, if you were in the tech area and your next class was on the 3rd floor, it was quite a hike. And so there was a buffer. And he decided that he was going to put the 3-minute gap between each period. So first period would end at 1:40, let's say 1:45. It didn't, but let's say 1:45. The next period would begin at 9:48. And let's say that period would end at 11:05. And the next period would begin at 11:08 or whatever it was. So there was a 3-minute. So if you add them up between periods 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you ended up with 3, 6, 9, 12 minutes. 12 extra minutes. So extended the day by 12 extra minutes. So it wasn't done in consultation with anybody. It was, well, we're going to give the kids a bit of a buffer. 3 minutes is still not enough time to go from the tech area to the 3rd floor. Math, science, whatever department. And even then, the teachers would be screaming at people as they walked in 1 minute late. Mostly math teachers, because, they're anal. But anyway, the whole 12 extra minutes during the day. And my question to him was, where do those 12 extra minutes come from? Oh, they're just part of the day. No, they're not. You know where they come from? At the end of the day, let's say school ended at 2:30. And then the teachers were supposed to stick around for 15, 20 minutes at the end of the day, and then extra help, whatever. So 12 minutes were taken out at the end of the day, stuck into the day, and you still had to stick around for 15 minutes after school or whatever it was to help out, whatever. So everybody's day in the school became 12 minutes longer. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it actually is. And I said, by the way, if someone breaks their leg coming down the stairs, Who's responsible for that? You know, we're not responsible for it. The teachers are not responsible for it. We are only responsible for what happens during the school day. And those 12-minute, 3 minute gaps actually come from outside the day. So if someone's coming down the stairs during winter or whatever and they slip and they break their leg, who's liable? I'm not liable. It's not my problem. I mean, seriously. You know, it's not my fault. Those are 3 minutes that were taken from somewhere and stuck during the day. And because our obligation started 15 minutes before the day and 15 minutes after the day, they came from after the 15 minutes after the day. Okay, they came from the ether. And that was a big issue. And he just wouldn't accept, oh no, they're part of the school day. No, they're not. From a legal, thankfully, well, the time I was at school, we didn't have a legal issue with it. But man, yeah, okay, there should have been a buffer. I get it. But build it into the day that in such a way that the staff are compensated for it or whatever somehow. But it's probably the same way even today. Okay. That was something that used to just aggravate me. Where those extra 12 minutes came from. Not too many principals would make decisions without consulting staff. Okay. But a couple of principals, Hudson was one of them, it was like stuff came out of thin air. Why? And he would always advocate on the part of the students and not a lot on the part of the staff, which, you know, I'm okay. Now, if you go the other way, Ken Teeter always advocated on the part of the staff and never on the part of the students. I guess it was a different mentality, from a different approach. There had to be a 50-50 balance. Anyway, so there's that. What else was I going to talk about? Yeah, talk about Lincoln. I talked about the logos. Yeah, and I talked about Remembrance Day. And yeah, so I'd like to hear your views on that, on the logos and the Westwood. I mean, when I coached the baseball team in 1998 and 99, I called the team the Lincoln Wildcat. Singular. The Wildcat. Okay, not the Wildcats or the Lynx. The Wildcat. And I have a couple students on the team said to me, "Why just one?" I said, "We're a team. We're a team." Okay, that's how it works. You work as a team. So I think I was the only one to ever pull that stunt, because far too many people who coach or teach or be executives or they're an admin or whatever, they go according to the rule. Very rarely do you come across someone in that industry who really does think outside the box. And when it came to logos, I mean, then there's thinking outside the box. There's thinking outside the box and down the river, which is where the Westwood WSS came from. That was so far outside the box that it lost its way totally. That Westwood logo was terrible, really terrible, but we were stuck with it. And it's like a lot of other things. Not a lot of thought was given to the history, and even the trophies, which I harped on this before, and I'll do it again. For those of you who still have know people at the school, tell them to dig out the stupid Westwood trophies and stick them up on the wall somewhere. Okay? Thousands of students went to Westwood, and thousands of students went to Morningstar. The difference is, Morningstar, their plaques are still up on their walls, the high school, as inspiration for the Morningstar Middle School. Westwood doesn't exist at all. And I tried right up to my very last day with the then director of education, who was also leaving the same day that I retired, and I got nowhere. It's going to take a bunch of former Westwood students to literally gang up on the board and the school in order for them to put up Westwood paraphernalia and awards and valedictorians and stuff somewhere in the school, and not that stupid back alley. When Westwood had its reunion, I think I talked about this. Westwood had its reunion 50th anniversary a few years back. So I got a few call from a couple of teachers who wanted to borrow my stuff because I have a lot of Westwood paraphernalia hanging around here even. And they wanted me to put my stuff on display. And they were going to put it in that back hallway where nobody goes and nobody will see it. And I said, no, you're not getting 1 ounce, one item from me because A, I don't want it to get stolen. It means a lot to me. It doesn't mean, I mean, how much of the Westwood Secondary School stuff has been destroyed or given away or just forgotten about? It means more to me than it does to them, and I was just a teacher there. It means a lot to the students. It means nothing to the admin. Anyway, that's my... Have I vented enough? I'm sorry. I apologize. You got me on a good day. Anyway, that's today's venting. What do I have in my cover? Yeah, leave comments underneath, and don't. I appreciate it when you say I'm enjoying the videos. Great, but comments about am I on the right track? What would you like me to talk about? Message me, Facebook, email, something like that. Let me know what you want me to talk about, and I'm game because I got a lot more material. But I want to talk about what you want me to talk about. I've talked about stage group. I've talked about the music program. I've talked about some sports. But yeah, leave comments below. Subscribe to the whole thing. Yeah, I'm done. Okay, we'll see you hopefully soon. Bye.